trying to prevent Charles from taking the throne. In the last several months, we've had at least 3 financial scandals tied to Charles's charity come to light. And my question is, obviously there maybe was some impropriety, something not right going on. And you know what? That does happen even with the best run organizations. Things do happen. However, I'm just looking at all this wondering, who's bringing this all up now? Because most of these instances are from years ago. So who exactly is pulling the strings? How are these things getting leaked? And is it coming from Montecito? Hello everyone, welcome back to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and on this channel we do everything related to royals. So that's news, gossip, fashion, jewelry, television shows, movies, and history. We will do it all right here. So if you want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. So I saw this news story come up about Charles and his charity and how it's now tied, there's money tied to the Bin Laden family. And I just was thinking, what the heck is going on? Because I know obviously there was a cash for honor scandal that started last year that's still going on. There is, Prince Charles apparently got some money in like literally bags, like cash in bags was given to his charity. And now we have this Bin Laden family, and they're all connected to the Middle East pretty much. But like looking through this whole thing, yes, I think there were probably some improper things done. You should never accept cash in a bag. That's always probably a bad idea. That's just a bad idea, especially if it's for a charity. But they did look into that, and if I remember correctly, it was all, basically deemed above board in that situation. Then we have the cash for honor scandal. So what this means is that somebody is kind of paying cash and kind of supporting Charles's causes in order to get an honor bestowed on them, like a knighthood, that kind of thing. And that does happen. And, obviously a lot of people have joked for years and years that David Beckham has really tried to do that. He's cozied up to the royals quite a bit because he wants that knighthood, that honor. That is what he's gunning for. And the guy who was get the honors as well in this situation with the connection to the Middle East was also supposed to get help kind of getting British citizenship. That was part of it. And now we have this, that members of the Bin Laden family, who have obviously denounced Osama bin Laden, gave money to Charles's foundation, and apparently it was accepted. And then there were some concerns within the organization that no, we should not take this money because of the connections to Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda and all these sorts of things. And it's like, I totally get that. These things should have not have been done. They should be investigated. But my question is, why are they all happening now? Why back to back to back? It seems like Charles really can't get much breathing room. As soon as he hits a bit of a high, another scandal kind of flows out. And granted, again, this could all be due to Charles's lack of awareness, his own actions. I'm not dissuading that at all. But for the most part, Charles has been pretty much above board. And so it just kind of got me thinking, who is driving this? Why is this all coming out now? And when it comes for the cash for honor scandal, what's interesting about that one is that Prince Harry also had connections with this same gentleman. He was also offered money for his charity send-up ball, and apparently decided to decline it, and then kind of threw his father under the bus for accepting the money. So it kind of got me thinking, are Harry and Meghan, based on kind of what they know from Charles's charity before, kind of Harry left, are they dropping little hints to try to damage Charles's claim to the throne? I mean, that sounds a bit far-fetched, but hey, there's been a lot of other weird things happening in terms of royals. Because, honestly, if you hadn't followed royals all that closely before Harry and Meghan entered the picture, and I will say I got even more invested after Harry and Meghan came on, because there was just something about her that just, again, it just hit my radar as wrong. And I kind of watched over the years obviously people didn't like certain royals, but kind of the level of toxicity has been ratcheted up to 11 since Meghan entered the picture and made her accusations of racism. Ever since then, any criticism, anything towards Meghan is deemed as racist, and everybody else who kind of takes a step back from that is deemed as racist for not totally jumping on board on Meghan's thing. And just looking at everything happening, obviously Harry's writing his memoir, and And all this toxicity that's in it, I'm just wondering now if Harry has felt emboldened to really try to damage his father's potential claim on the throne. And even though Charles will probably reign at most for maybe 20 years, maybe, if he lives as long as his mother, and men generally don't live as long as women. So, I mean, his father did live to 99, so he's, a couple years past 70 now, because it was his 70th birthday in 2018, so he's, 74-ish now. So, he won't have very long on the throne, that's for sure, and it will be William next. But are Harry and Meghan already looking to undermine him, looking to undermine Charles and his claim to the throne? And you know what? I have no evidence for this whatsoever, except for the fact that, obviously the Prince of Pegging story that went around last week, I would almost guarantee was from the Sussex camp and the Sussex squad, because it's such a ridiculous story. I know even people say I shouldn't have covered it, but I wanted to cover it to highlight that I think it was from the Sussex camp. But also, the story is so ridiculous and there's no basis for it whatsoever that it's gotten any traction. Is just insane. But going back to Charles, it's like, again, I could so see Harry and Meghan leaking this kind of thing in order to kind of, again, enact Meghan's revenge. Meghan, since she left the royal family, has been on really this aggressive revenge tour. She wants to make them pay for not making her queen, basically. She will make them all pay. And for not making her queen and not thinking she's the second coming of Diana, she will make them all pay. And I think that includes her father-in-law, and especially Camilla, because apparently kind of what we've been told is that Harry is not happy that Camilla will become queen. And you know what? I understand that people have a lot of really, really passionate feelings about Diana. And she was a lovely, incredible person. But you know what? She did die 25 years ago. Not that you shouldn't not remember somebody, but I think it is time to move on too. Camilla has done everything she's needed to do as a royal. She hasn't really stepped a foot wrong. She's been very dedicated to her husband. She has been very, very cautious. She has, taken abuse from the media that most people would not dare take. And there was actually an article, and again, I want to do a full video on this, about how Camilla is kind of a real feminist, because she kind of married the man that she wanted to marry, and she dealt with a ton of abuse in the process and has come out for it the better side. And I think she deserves to become queen. And her Order of the Garter ceremony, you could see this tight bond between Catherine and Camilla. And Catherine also took pictures of Camilla in her garden for her country life issue. And so I really think Catherine, in addition to Camilla and their close relationship, has really helped William and Charles bond as well. And that they've really been able to kind of come to an understanding about what happened with Diana and kind of move past it. Harry isn't there. Harry, when you read through the Tom Bower book, he is very much attached to this media illusion of Diana, rather than actually understanding her as a full person. A person who had faults, who kind of contributed to a certain extent to her own demise by playing up to the media, calling paparazzi, and, deciding not to use British protection anymore. She really kind of contributed in some ways. I mean, some of that was instigated by Martin Bashir, because he lied to her and increased her paranoia about the British monarchy. So she denied the security that the British monarchy would have given her, which would have saved her life, which is just incredibly sad and tragic to me. It did not have to happen. What happened to Diana did not have to happen. But it's, more complex than what the media, and especially those who are kind of very much Diana stans, including those who are very attached to Meghan. What I've noticed is that those who are incredibly attached to Diana have, not all of them I would say, but some of them have very much equated Diana and Meghan as if they are the same person experiencing the same persecution. And they're not. They're not. Diana was, she did play to the media. She did call paparazzi. She did try to make herself look best in the media spotlight, because there's kind of that famous picture of Diana running to hug her boys, but Charles was right behind her. But they got the money shot of Diana, and that's what she wanted, because she was really good at media perception and kind of media manipulation. She was pretty good at it. Unfortunately, it ended up having tragic results, I think, in the end, but she was pretty good at it. So we look at all this now, and I think there are definitely members of the Sussex camp that would like nothing better than to see Charles lose his throne. They would like nothing more than to see that. And I think that's incredibly sad. And I think, sadly, Harry has fallen into that camp. I think based on the Tom Bower book, there's a couple things, and I'll go over this on my last kind of video, kind of reviewing the whole Tom Bower book, but it just does take me a while to kind of get everything together because there's a lot of kind of pre-production for it, and filming it takes a while, editing takes a really long time because they ended up being quite long. So from that book, you could kind of gather that Harry A is kind of a dim guy. He's not the brightest. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. B, he's very immature in a lot of ways. And he didn't do the thing that William did. William did kind of a Diana realist tour. He actually went to friends of his mother, family members of his mother, and asked them for the truth about what happened. And Harry didn't do that. Harry didn't want to go on this tour. He thought it was too tragic. And I understand that, but I also think William came out with a better understanding of his mother than Harry did. And then you have Meghan. And Meghan has told us the whole time that she knew nothing about the British monarchy, which I think is a total fabrication. But I think what she did too is she inflamed Harry's sentiment against the media that Meghan was the next Diana. And so you have this kind of amalgamation and this confluence of, Meghan is the next Diana, I must protect Meghan. And because Charles is so intertwined in that Diana narrative, Harry is kind of convinced and aggressively kind of targeting his father in a way. And I think we'll see this in the memoir. A lot of people are talking about how he'll be very, very dismissive and mean about Camilla, basically. And so you look at all this and you just got to wonder, so is Harry, because of Meghan's influence, because he is so drawn into this post-Diana drama, really, that, should have dissipated by now, is, because we should all remember as Diana as a wonderful, lovely, and amazing person that she was. But I feel like Harry is falling into that toxic element of Diana as well. And so you have this kind of perfect chaos, and I could totally see Harry and Meghan and Montecito going, okay, how can we hurt Charles the most? How can we damage his claim to the throne? Because I think to a certain extent, and I realize how ridiculous this is, I think somehow Meghan thinks she can bump off everybody else and become queen. I think she really does think that. And I want to say right now, if Harry and Meghan somehow, through tragedy, what have you, end up on the throne, the British people will vote for a republic in a snap. They won't want Harry and Meghan because they're too divisive. And even though Meghan says, no, she wants to turn her back on the UK, she does, but she also wants to be queen. Because I read a book that started talking about Queen Elizabeth and said she enjoys being queen because, who wouldn't like being queen? It's fun. But I think Harry and Meghan, they have this vendetta against the royal family and they want to damage them as much as possible. Obviously, Harry's memoir will be huge. And another thing to consider why all this might be coming out now, if it is, let's say from Montecito kind of leaking things, kind of, sharing things, from Harry's memoir that he's put in there and those sorts of things. And I wonder if some of what they're doing, there's a lot of rumors and a lot of talk. And Tom Bower mentioned this recently in an interview that perhaps Harry and Meghan, once that book comes out, their titles are on the chopping block. Even before it comes out, their titles are on the chopping block. And so I can already see them kind of churning up the pressure or trying to on Charles by releasing all these things about these stories that put Charles in a very, very bad light. And again, he could totally be responsible for these things. He should not have done them. Accepting money from the Bin Laden family is just not good optics. Accepting money in bags, again, not good optics. Cash for honors, I think, is actually a more serious allegation than the other two because that is potentially manipulating the system in order to get somebody ahead who maybe doesn't deserve it. That, to me, I think is more problematic than sometimes, they accepted money they shouldn't have accepted money from. And obviously, people pay money to peddle influence. We see this all the time in the United States with universities. I think it was Dr. Dre maybe who, donated like $30 million to USC. And of course, his daughter went to USC. So this is a sidebar. The Varsity Blues scandal that caught up Lori Loughlin, who was on Full House. To me, I understood why some of that should have been prosecuted, but there's also a part of me that's like, wealthy people all the time donate money to institutions to get their children in. Like, that's why they do it. They don't do it because they really care. I think some of them do, but a lot of them do it because, well, my kid said they wanted to go to Yale, so what do? I donate $10 million to Yale. Wouldn't you know it? My child's in Yale. That's shocking. So I kind of get it because money, and we don't like to think this way. We really don't. And I understand why, because it's kind of like a scary reality that so many things can be bought, but that's the truth of the world. I hate to I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is the truth, is that money talks. Money, it does. So I can totally see why, you know, those things do happen. So I don't necessarily criticize Charles to such an extent for that. But again, the cash for honors, I think, is a little bit more challenging, especially if he was helping to fast track somebody's citizenships. That's more problematic. But looking at all this, I think anything, and it's like, and it's not just one thing, it's kind of compounding it, which makes it look worse and worse and worse. And the Prince's Trust has always had a fabulous reputation. So again, I think this comes down to, and again, I could be totally wrong, I think it's elements of Harry and Meghan, but I also think Charles, to a certain extent, is not that popular. He's had, you know, he's generally kind of middling in the popularity polls. So is Camilla. He's, you know, in his 70s now. And, you know, I think people are looking for when the monarchy transitions to the future. And while there was that recent visit where Charles was actually kind of mobbed, which I thought was great for him. But, you know, people aren't necessarily like hugely looking forward to him being king. They're really excited about George and William being king, I think, but not so much Charles. And I think that is a struggle for him and a struggle with his public image to kind of get people there. I think it's becoming a bit better, but you know, people who are not thrilled about that, you know, they're going to try anything to bring Charles down, because to them it's like, well, you know, let's get, you know, William and Catherine in there or something. And I understand it, because I was on the camp too. Charles should just let William have it. But Charles, you know, he has been the understudy for 70 years pretty much. You know, he wants to finally get that spotlight. And I think that's kind of immensely, you know, it is frustrating. He's seen so many younger royals get coronated ahead of him. So King Wilhelm Alexander in the Netherlands. He's seen King, what is his name? King Philippe of Belgium. He got coronated. Then we also had King Philippe of Spain, who got coronated. And the new emperor, Naruhito? No. I think it's Naruhito. So the new emperor in Japan also was coronated. And so Charles has watched four younger men receive their crowns over him. And I know that has to be tough. It has to be a challenge to deal with that, because all he wants to do is finally, you know, succeed and kind of inherit his destiny. He has been training for this job for decades. But I think there's elements not only in, you know, with Harry and Meghan, but perhaps some in the palace and even in the British government who are just not thrilled about the idea of a King Charles III. And, you know, even some in the public as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how all this plays out. But again, I just think it's clear to me, and let me know what you think in the comments, that there's somebody in the background who just seems to be churning and releasing a slow drip of negative stories about Charles that I think somebody is anticipating or hoping may challenge his claim to the throne, or perhaps even prevent him from becoming king. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. For this month of August, I'm not actually planning on doing too much. Most royals are on break, and I plan on going on a little bit of a break as well. And I'm actually going to Poland later in the month, and so I actually am going to try to be planning a lot more things and kind of doing things and just giving myself a little bit of a break is what I'm hoping to do. We'll see if we succeed, because I'm already like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's just so much. But I love doing this. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.